Although we've never had water in the basement, this is an issue that I have concerns about. You can see the neighbor's grass tilts down towards my property, and then of course I brought in a lot of dirt and made it contour away from the house. And we've never had water in the basement, but basically what happens is all the water off the main roof comes down onto this room addition, and then down this downspout and under the deck and out this piece of 4-inch PVC and out here to discharge. The rest of the main roof comes down this downspout and then out. You can see I've cut this little trench here that all the water drains into, out into the front yard, and the rest of the house, or 90% of it anyway, the other side of that gable goes out to the south, but the rest of it comes down this downspout and out. So basically all the water from most of the house roof anyway ends up coming down on this side and coming into this trough that I've cut and have to maintain every couple of years. And so I'm going to try to eliminate that. I first thought of putting a French drain in. I've got a gas line that comes in and also a phone line that comes in that I have a concern about, and I'll get those marked. But I've come up with a different idea that I think will work, and I'll share with you. The other thing that's kind of critical to this, you can see by the contour of the property, I have about a foot of fall from the back of the property here up to the front. So that's going to give me plenty of flow for the water to go out in the front yard and dissipate out there well away from the house. But for this idea, you do have to have some pretty good pitch on your yard. Okay, I've got a 4-inch by 10-foot piece of PVC set up on the table saw. You could actually cut this with any saw, but I'm going to use the table saw. And I've marked it. I'm basically going to rip both sides and rip the pipe in half, so that I've got two halves that are 10 feet long. And I'm going to rip two of those 10-foot sections. Okay, I've now ripped two of these. So I have the 4-inch pipe, and now I've got two 10-foot sections that are cut in half, and that's going to be my trough. I'm going to do another one of those because I need 30 or 40 feet, depending on where I now ripped two pieces. So I have four 10-foot sections. I've taped off all the ends except for two, because those are where the coupler is going to get some PVC cement on them, and the two ends of course won't. And I've wiped them down, and now I'm going to paint them green just so they kind of match the lawn, don't stick out quite so bad. Okay, I now have my troughs all painted green. They're going to lay in the ground just about flush, so I'll be able to run over them with a lawnmower. But being green, they won't stick out quite so bad. And I also painted up the couplers that I'm going to use. I'll PVC cement those to the ends here to join the ones, but I'll also put some sheet metal screws in them just to hold them. So gonna let this all dry, and then it'll be time to start prepping. I've marked out with the white line where I intend to put my trench. Had the utility companies come up and mark. This is the phone line. I'm going to dig this by hand. I'm only going to go down about 2 or 3 inches, and I'm sure it's deeper than that, but I'll do that just to make sure. And also where the gas line is, where it crosses, I'll dig by hand. And I'll do that, of course, with the spade, and I could dig this trench out with the spade like I normally do every other year or so to maintain it, but I'm going to cheat a little bit and use my little tiller and just till up the trench first. That way the dirt will be a lot easier for me to work with and pack the troughs in. Okay, I have now finished cutting the trench. I went through twice with the little rototiller, back and forth 2 times, then just took a round nose shovel and scraped out the excess. We'll lay the trough and then pack the dirt in around it. One mistake I did make, I put tape over the lengths before I painted them where the couplers and the glue are going to go. but I forgot and painted the couplers, so I've got to clean those up. I'm going to put sheet metal screws in too. I plan to do that right from the start just to give it a little more strength, and then drive some stakes down through it to hold the whole thing in place. So we'll clean this up, it'll be fine. Now I got my trough laid in there and laid out straight, and at each joint I glued it, and I put in sheet metal screws to hold it, and then I'm also at the far end, and then at each joint I got these big stakes at the hardware store, about 1 foot long, and I'm going to drive one of those in each joint to help stabilize the joint and also keep the whole trough in place. I've now extended the one PVC downspout and also the one from this house, and I've got the in-ground all buried, got the stakes, also put one in the middle, and then of course at both joints, and it's packed the dirt in there so it's good and solid. Probably have to put some more in this spring. This one's going to drain into there, and then everything should run down. And I did renew my trench in the dirt that I've had alongside the house for a long time. Everything will get out and be several feet from the side of the house. If I get a good downpour, it's quite possible that I'll get some spillage over, and that's perfectly fine. Most of the water is still going to stay in the trough and go out to the front yard. As I said, I've never had a problem with water in the basement, but just trying to have a little insurance. This cost me about 60 bucks for all the stuff, and 2 or 3 hours of my time. It was going to be $75. I was going to put a French drain in, and it was going to be about $75 to rent a trencher for half a day. Did all this for 60 bucks. It's low enough that I can run the mower over it. And again, one of the keys is you have to have some pretty good fall in your yard, and I drop about 1 foot from the back of the house to the front, so I'm going to have plenty of fall, and we'll get all this water carried away from the house. Question was raised if this trough will fill up, and it will get leaves and grass debris in it, that type of thing, but just walk along with a leaf blower or take the hose and just hose it out. It'll stay clean. Nice thing is you can see if it gets debris in it, and with a French drain, if it gets plugged up, you may not know. Stuck the garden hose up into the one downspout, and water comes down, flows down all the way out to the front. Again, in a heavy downpour, I may get some buildup and some overflow, but that's not going to hurt anything. The majority of the water is going to go down, and when it gets to the end, it's just going to fill up and work its way out into the yard, again, far away from the house. So $65 in 2 or 3 hours of my time, and we're good to go.